see you guys in the dark.
Honestly, my story is not too bad, though I would still rather never meet this person again. I was stalked, but not because they were into me, because they were into my best friend, Emma. Emma is gorgeous, like to obscene level, and has always had guys and girls fawning over her. She had a friend named Mike. Mike is who this story is about. I met Mike through Emma, and it was clear immediately that Mike was obsessed with her. She was actually into him too for a little bit. But she wanted something not serious. Mike came on hard and heavy, so Emma distanced herself from him. She distanced herself even more after he made some shocking comments about his opinion on sexual assaults, mostly being fake. When Emma and I graduated high school, we had planned to move in together, but due to a family situation, she only stayed at our place about 2 days a week and never on a set schedule. She also couldn't keep a job to save her life. Her family life was chaotic and made it where she would have to leave at a moment's notice. Emma also had several places that she crashed at. Family, friends, my family. It depended on her situation and any odd jobs that she was working. She did a lot of odd jobs: babysitting, yard work, elder care, catering, things like that. Nowhere stable, and often she wouldn't know what she was doing until that day. After Emma distanced herself from Mike, I started to realize that he was at my workplace often, like 3 or so times a week. It would not have been too weird, except my work was a department store for women and children. No men's clothing at all in this store. At first, Mike would just come in, do a lap, and leave. It was weird, but I honestly just thought that he was walking the mall. Lots of people do that, as my town was practically no entertainment. Then Mike started hanging out in the store and talking to me while I worked. Always talked about Emma. How is Emma? Why is she avoiding me? Those kind of questions. I was evasive, giving one-word answers, trying to tell him I needed to work. My manager scolded me for having friends hang out while working, when I explained I did not want him there, and that he wanted to know about my friend. My manager, he was pretty awesome, asked if I wanted him to talk to Mike. I said yes. I was relieved. After that, Mike went back to doing a lap and leaving until my manager eventually stationed a big loss prevention guy at my register as a deterrent. It worked. No more Mike at work. I had won. Except I had not counted on Mike being extra creepy. He started showing up at my house. Couple of points. Mike did not have a car, and I lived in a different town than Mike. My family and my job, about 20 minutes by car. No public transportation in my town, or in his. Uber did not exist in his area then either, and Mike didn't have a job as far as I knew. Mike knew where I lived because when I first moved in, we had a housewarming party and accidentally made the Facebook invite public. Mike started coming over at random times, sometimes early in the morning, sometimes in the evenings, always asking to speak to Emma. I always told him Emma wasn't there, even if she was. For her safety, I advised her not to come to the house anymore, and to tell Mike that she wasn't interested, which she did, bluntly, no more distancing, and then blocked him. And this time I moved in a new roommate, a coworker who, while also female, had a gun and a big boyfriend. Mike started coming by less frequently, and any time he did, I would tell him that he wasn't welcome. Now I know I should have called the cops, but there were 2 things preventing me. 1, I was from a not grand family who avoided cops for the most part. 2, my new roommate was a criminal law major, and she was already concerned about how that would appear on her career. Not great reasons, but for a 19 to 20-year-old, it was enough reasons for me not to mention it. Eventually I stopped seeing Mike, but I would still occasionally spot him places that I was. The mall, my town's grocery store, and my dog's favorite park. I stopped posting on Facebook around this time, because even though Mike was blocked, he was clearly still able to see my posts. I also got the creepy suspicion that he was coming by my house sometimes. My stuff on my porch would be moved. At night, my motion sensor lights would go off, and I kept finding Mike's cigarette butts. Also, it was the same kind that he smoked. My roommate had been there about 4 months, when one night she had her boyfriend over, when someone started pounding on the door. When her boyfriend answered, he saw someone who looked like Mike running away. The next day, my roommate and her boyfriend went out of town for a concert. She gave me her gun, even though I felt safe, because she had gotten a dog. That was a training guard dog. I started watching a cooking show in the living room, and at some point, I had fallen asleep. In the middle of the night, I woke up to my dog, and the guard dog losing their minds, barking like mad out the window. There was a tall figure that bolted as soon as I sat up. I grabbed the gun, opened up the door, and yelled, "I know that's you. I have a gun. I'm calling the cops." Which I didn't do. I just locked me and the dogs in the bathroom and called my dad, who luckily was not angry about being woken up in the middle of the night. He drove over and advised calling the cops and filing a restraining order, which we called the cops, but they said since nothing was broken and there was no evidence, there was nothing to be done about it. Luckily after this, I heard through the grapevine that about a week after the incident with the dogs, Mike's family sent him to live with a relative in a different state. He did come back a couple of years ago, but he has been wise enough to only contact me once. When I got to tell him that Emma was not only happily married, but not at all interested in talking to him, I reminded him that I am willing to call the cops if he ever came near us again. He never did, and I don't see him anymore, though he did try to befriend my husband on Facebook. All it took was another block for him to go away. So at the time, I was about a 20-year-old male in college. Typical things going on. Personally, I've always been the type of weird person myself. It's a lot more of showing I'm not one to be messed around with than anything. So it's about around January. I've got this friend I had recently met, and for all purposes, I'll call her Miranda. So Miranda had been walking down a hallway with me, and another friend, I'll call him Jake, had accidentally bumped into this rather tall guy. I myself am only 6'3", while this guy was at least 6'5". Miranda was shorter, probably around 5'4". Jake was short, but African American. Fit, looked like he could whoop some ass. I'm decently built, like an old-style wrestler from the late 1800s to 1900s. This guy was tall, curly brownish hair. Don't quite remember his eye color, but he was white. So she bumps into him, and he turns to her, saying, "You know that bump was pretty hot. I bet your hair could smell nice going down my drain at night." So creeped out, as well most of my friends being decently easy to scare social awkward people. She ran off, so Jake stepped in to say to this guy, "I'll whoop your ass if you ever talk to her like that again." I'm standing there like this guy is pathetic, so he looks down Jake, stating with that kind of stare, like he knows that he is superior, but he isn't. "I'll eat you with a bowl of cornflakes, field worker." So I hold Jake back because it was clear that he was ready to fight him. I looked to the guy with a blank stare. "You know those cornflakes would be mighty fine with all 4 of your limbs chopped off for soup. You want to step into my dungeon, you slut?" This weirdly shocked this tall guy. We did end up learning his name from another woman, so we can just call him James. So the next few days, he was asking my friends about Miranda. Just normal questions, but visibly being creepy while doing so. So later me, as well as Miranda, were hanging out in her room. It was light out for once. She hears a knock on the door, so she goes to look through the little eye-hole thing some of the college dorms have for their doors. It's that guy, standing there with a sign that was turned on in his lower region of his body. So freaking out, she froze up. Noticing this, I walk over so that I could see through the peephole. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty weird, but I'm not stupid. So I usually carry a knife on me, either in my pocket, or if I need to hide it better, strapped onto my body, because paranoia is a bitch. I pull it out, then open up the door quickly, as I had my friend go into her bathroom. The guy goes, "Oh, it's only you, asshole." I lick my lips, holding out my knife, and I look at him. "Leave, or I'm gonna cut you, and drain your blood until you die, little piggy." So he looks alarmed at this, and runs off. I can't say for sure, but I thought he had a rag in his hands behind him, so I'm just assuming that he was planning on, well, the whole chloroform and the rag smell kind of thing. I talked to my friend after, and we reported him. We didn't report the whole thing, though, because the whole part of me having a knife on these grounds would have not went so well. So I ended up staying for another term of college. Decent scores in the courses. This dude had left my friend alone for about 2 months. The last time he tried anything, my friend Miranda was walking with Jake, as well as another friend who is just as tall as this guy. Pretty skinny, 6-pack. To be honest, I found his friend pretty hot. I'll call him John. So the guy steps out behind a corner and tries to grab Miranda by the arm, and what happened next, I expected. Don't know exactly who did it, but either it was Jake or John had got the guy on the ground. They stomped him out pretty good. The guy was brought to the hospital, and charges were filed. So about a month later, as I ended up leaving half a term early, came back a few weeks later for graduation, found out that this guy had been let go of police custody as well, since the college wasn't the greatest. They didn't have camera proof of him doing any of this. He had been sighted outside of the windows at night, looking in on people. No clue if they ever found him after. But it's just kind of weird this happened. All I know is during all of this guy usually left any room I walked into because I might have out-creeped the fucker to the point that he avoided me, which I found pretty cool, I guess. I'm 22 years old now, going to be 23, and my friends graduated from their courses too. And every now and then, I hear my friend Miranda always thank me for being so weird to protect her from this guy. Which is cool, I guess. Except I'm usually just this weird. I don't act on it. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.